Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're settling the absolute ultimate 2026 debate, ChatGPT versus Claude. Look, if you've been paying any attention at all to the AI space lately, you know the rivalry between OpenAI and Anthropic has reached a total fever pitch. We're not just looking at basic chatbots anymore, right? We are looking at massive, sprawling operating systems. So, let's get into it.
The big question on everyone's mind is simple. Which AI is actually getting your $20 a month? Or, your massive API budget? It's literally the most common question I hear from devs, writers, business leaders, you name it. And it makes total sense. Budgets are tight right now. Teams are being forced to pick just one platform to cut costs. So making the wrong call here? Yeah, that can be incredibly expensive.
But hey, let's bust a huge myth right off the bat. Asking which one is smarter in 2026 is totally the wrong question. They've evolved into completely different beasts. The real question you got to ask yourself is, what do I actually need to do? It's kind of like asking if a Ferrari is better than a dump truck. Are you trying to win a race or are you hauling bricks across town? They are built for fundamentally different jobs.
So here is our agenda for today. First, we'll look at the 2026 AI power struggle. Then we'll break down their strengths in coding, writing, and voice. After that, we'll compare Claude artifacts with ChatGPT Canvas, dive into privacy and enterprise security, break down the subscriptions and API pricing, and finally, give you the final verdict.
All right, Section 1, the 2026 AI power struggle. To set the stage here, let's look at the July 2026 flagship models from both companies just to gauge their raw horsepower. And wow, the margins here are just razor thin. Check out the industry-standard BenchLM public ranking, which, by the way, aggregates thousands of incredibly complex logic, reasoning, and math tests. Claude Fable 5 barely edges out GPT 5.6 Sol, hitting 82.75 against 81.39. That is virtually a statistical tie on general intelligence. Because it's a dead heat at the very top, we really have to look past these general scores and figure out where their actual real-world strengths lie.
Moving on to Section 2, Strengths, covering coding, writing, and voice. Since those raw benchmarks are essentially a tie, let's talk about the text generation tasks you're probably doing every single day. If you're a marketer and you need quick, punchy, structured copy, ChatGPT is absolutely your go-to. It has this highly energetic, magazine-quality flair that is just perfect for social media hooks. But if you are an analyst, an author, or a researcher writing long-form content, Claude is where it's at. It produces much more natural, nuanced prose. We all know that awful feeling when an AI sounds like a high schooler writing an essay, throwing in words like delve or testament. Ugh, right? Claude completely avoids that robotic vibe and maintains a remarkably consistent, highly human tone even across massive documents.
Now, when we pivot over to programming, Claude's dominance becomes crystal clear. It scored a massive 95 on the SWE Bench verified test. To give you some perspective, SWE Bench is a grueling test of real-world software engineering tasks. It basically forces the AI to resolve actual GitHub issues, and Claude just crushes it. A huge reason for this is its 1 million plus token context window. Think of that context window like the AI's active short-term memory. 1 million tokens means Claude can hold like a dozen giant textbooks worth of your proprietary code in its memory all at once, without ever losing the thread. This has made it the absolute darling of the developer community. Anthropic even has a Claude Code CLI that hooks right into your terminal, autonomously fixing bugs while you just sit back and watch.
But hold on, if you're a creator needing instant visual assets or a real-time vocal brainstorming partner, ChatGPT's massive multimodal ecosystem leaves Claude completely in the dust. Seriously, no contest. Imagine pacing around your living room, brainstorming a campaign out loud. ChatGPT's advanced voice mode picks up on your tone, lets you interrupt it naturally, and then instantly generates a native DALL-E image of your idea right there in the chat. Plus, it has deep web search integration. Claude, on the flip side, is laser-focused on deep text and code. It doesn't natively generate images at all, and it totally lacks that fluid voice mode that makes ChatGPT actually feel like a real human assistant.
Let's jump to Section 3, Claude artifacts versus ChatGPT Canvas.
Both companies figured out pretty quickly that a simple text box just isn't enough for complex work. But they solved that problem in totally different ways. Think of ChatGPT Canvas as the ultimate pair programmer or editor sitting right next to you. It acts a lot like a collaborative word processor. You can highlight a sentence, ask for a quick rewrite, and accept or reject the changes right in line. But Claude's artifacts? That's like having a front-end developer living right in your pocket. If you ask Claude to build a calculator or a dashboard, it doesn't just spit out raw code for you to copy. No way. It actually renders a live, working prototype in a side panel. You can literally click the buttons to see if it works. And you can even share that live interactive app publicly using platforms like ShareDuo.
Next up, Section 4, Privacy and Enterprise Security. This one is huge.
As AI gets deeply embedded into super confidential workflows like legal, healthcare, finance, how these platforms handle your data is absolutely paramount. If you take nothing else away from this privacy breakdown, remember this: Claude respects your privacy by default, even on its free consumer tiers. Anthropic drew a hard line here. They simply do not train their models on your prompts. Period. OpenAI, on the other hand, will use your consumer tier data to train their future models unless you manually go into your settings to opt out, or unless you pony up for a massive enterprise contract. For a business where an employee might accidentally use a personal account to draft a sensitive memo, that difference in the default privacy posture is huge.
So, if you're an enterprise admin handling highly confidential stuff, here is your 2026 action plan. Step 1. Get an enterprise tier contract with zero data retention. This ensures the AI provider wipes your data the second they're done processing it. Both platforms do offer these secure enterprise tiers, complete with HIPAA BAAs, which are those strict legal contracts required in healthcare. But Step 3 is the ultimate security flex, using a local first redaction tool like Lock. Lock acts like a shield directly on your computer. It automatically masks things like patient names, social security numbers, or your proprietary API keys right in your browser before it ever even travels over the internet. Neither Anthropic nor OpenAI ever sees this sensitive raw data.
All right, let's talk money in Section 5, subscriptions and API pricing.
Whether you're a solo user or a dev crunching API costs at scale, the financial landscape in 2026 is highly strategic. Both offer standard $20 a month plans, but ChatGPT uniquely introduces an $8 Go tier. This is a brilliant move for students or casual budget users who just need a little help and don't need the heavyweight models. On the flip side, their respective Pro tiers cater to totally different types of power users. ChatGPT's $200 Pro tier gives you unlimited, friction-free access to their massive GPT 5.4 model and advanced reasoning loops with no usage caps. Claude's higher tiers, like their $100 Max plan, are really built to give you massive usage volume on their flagship Claude 4.6 and Fable 5 models, which is absolutely perfect for researchers analyzing giant datasets.
Looking at API pricing, ChatGPT gives you significantly more general capability per dollar. But Claude's higher price grants you a much higher ceiling for really complex tasks. To put this in perspective, because APIs charge by the token, 1 million input tokens is roughly like feeding the AI 13 copies of the first Harry Potter book. OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol is aggressively priced at just $5 per million input tokens. They even have a lighter Luna model for an astonishing $1. Now, Claude Fable 5 is undeniably pricier, $10 for input and $50 for output. But actually, if you're a software firm where getting it right the first time avoids shipping buggy code, devs gladly pay that premium to Anthropic because it literally saves them hours of human debugging time.
Finally, Section 6, the final verdict. Okay, we've looked at the benchmarks, the skills, the interfaces, the privacy, and the price tags. But here is the ultimate hybrid twist. In 2026, you actually don't have to pick a side at all. You can use API aggregators to seamlessly route your coding tests to Claude and your visual tests to ChatGPT within the exact same workflow. Think of a tool like MindStudio as a super smart middleman. It lets you build automated workflows that use Claude for nuanced writing or deep coding, and then instantly hands off to OpenAI's models for fast logic loops or generating images. You get the absolute best of both worlds, and you never have to manually manage separate API keys or switch tabs.
I love this quote because it beautifully distills our entire analysis. ChatGPT is the do-everything assistant. Claude is the do complex things deeply assistant. It's a great reminder to always match the tool to the specific depth or breadth of what you're doing. If you need a versatile powerhouse that can browse the web, talk to you with genuine emotion, and whip up visual assets on the fly, ChatGPT is the clear winner. But if your day involves deep logical reasoning, untangling massive legacy code bases, reading 100-page financial reports, or writing truly human-sounding prose, Claude is absolutely the tool for you.
As these platforms continue to diverge into these highly specialized domains, the only real question left is how you're going to combine them to supercharge your own productivity. So will you settle for just one AI ecosystem, or will you master the ultimate hybrid workflow? Start looking at how you can leverage the distinct genius of each to build your perfect digital setup. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.